do I offer a scope of work, right? Is this something that I'm going to put a scope of work together and say, this is what we're including? Or are we just going to say, hey, we're going to come in and do this. There's a ballpark about this much, and it's going to be time and material.
All right, we're on the air, Andy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I want to welcome everybody listening. If this is your first time, I'm Eric Ani. He's Andy Mickelson. We are plumbers. We run our own businesses, and we talk about that kind of stuff on this show. And for longtime listeners, I challenge any one of you, please, if you have been listening for more than one episode and you have an idea whether or not you like us, well, you're here, and I would hope that you do. Please go over to your podcast app and rate us. Apple Podcasts helps us out a ton by getting us in front of more people if you help us by rating us. You know what I mean? It's like the whole Google thing, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. And of course, if you look at the notes, the captions, whatever you want to call it, inside your podcast app or on YouTube, if you're watching us, you can see how to get in touch with us. And we'd love to hear from you. We really, really would.
Yep.
All right. And you want to get into this one today because this one's been burning on both of our minds for a little while. It's something we deal with all the time as business owners. And it's, I'm going to use a couple scenarios, for example.
Okay.
I've talked about this on the podcast a couple times recently. I've got a job that I just verified is almost a year old. I sent the original estimates a year ago. They were approved right away. It's a homeowner run job. And anybody listening for a while knows I'm going to say like, oh my God, I'm never going to do these again. Cause that's what I said last time.
Right.
In-floor heat. So like a barndominium, right?
Sure.
And like, man, I kicked myself in the last few episodes. I've talked about this for taking on jobs like this. I've said over the years, I'm not going to do this because these open-ended kind of projects, right? It just feels like they're just not, because, you know, they're being managed by a customer instead of a general. This customer is not a general contractor, is not a home builder, not something like that, right?
Yep.
Not in any other trades, owning business, things like that.
Right.
So it's, you know, work is work, and it's seemingly a good job. In-floor heat, boiler. I'm going to supply the hot water for the plumbing side, but I'm not doing anything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, we're a year into it, and all I have is tubing in. I don't have a boiler in. I don't have... It just feels like it's taking forever. And I said, I'm not going to take these jobs anymore because I just don't really know how to handle it on my end, or maybe I haven't handled it properly anytime. And you were saying you've got a job now that you kind of had to handle a little bit different for pricing purposes, bid versus time and material and stuff like that.
Yep.
Just bring everybody up to speed on that.
Well, yeah. So we've got a customer that we have been working for about 5 years. They own a local restaurant. And so they're moving locations.
Okay.
And I have previous history with the location they're moving into. Building happens to be about 130 years old.
Okay.
And has been remodeled not quite as many as 100 times, but,
Feels like it.
Feels like it.
You open up the wall, it looks like it.
Right. It's got some super old concrete, you know, lots of fun stuff inside.
Yeah.
And not anywhere near code utility system, right?
Okay.
You know, so
everything's all wonky.
Yeah, like just hot water systems way at the other end. It used to be like physical plant type building.
Okay.
It's an old theater anyway. So we've dealt with it before. I mean, I've worked on the building my entire career off and on, a little bit here, a little there. Generally everybody tries to avoid it because that's the building.
Yeah.
Anyway, this project comes up. We've worked with the customer. I'm like, yeah, we can add these 2 sinks for you. You know, we're going to take out these couple of sinks on the bar. We're going to delete the bar. We're going to put this prep sink in. We're going to move the dishwasher like 2 feet. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You know what? We can do this. We can get in and out. And that was the basis of it. I initially was just like, I'm just going to give you a ballpark. Like, here's what you're going to, this is about what it's going to cost to do these couple of sinks and these changes. And he was fine with that. Right. And so as we're getting going, I'm looking at this and I said, we have to permit this. And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't think we're just moving a couple of sinks. I'm like, we have to permit this. Absolutely have to permit this. It's going to be inspected by the city.
Yeah.
We have to permit
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. No question.
And I said, and I can't get a permit without you getting a permit. So you're going to need to get a building permit.
Sure.
And so he's like, but what about all this stuff that I'm doing here? And I'm like, might or might not be covered under your building permit. I don't, but that's not my call, because I just know that.
Look, it's not like you're rearranging your existing restaurant, like putting some booths on a different wall here. You're building out a new space.
You kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so as we go, this has been going for several months now. And I look back at it and I go, I am so glad that I did not go, here's the number to reno this space.
Yeah.
Right. Because I would be so upside down.
Yeah.
So upside down because literally I would guess it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 hours between Miles and Tristan rerouting the hot water line so that we can get it to pass an inspection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because before it had all these dead legs from like old sinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And after talking with the inspector, he's like, you have to get rid of them. Right? Like, you have to get rid of them. So we go back to we cut out some galvanized piping that's probably pushing 100 years old.
Wow.
And, it went over like 8-10 feet and had a plug on it. Or went over 8-10 feet and had a 2-foot riser in the crawl space and a cap on that, turned into copper and then ran 10 feet and then was capped off.
Yeah.
It was just stuff like that was like, we'll just cut in a new T and cap off the old one. And so the new plumbing code says you can't have any dead legs.
Yeah.
And the way our local inspector has interpreted that is you can't have a cap. Like that doesn't exist. You have to remove the T and couple the pipe back together.
Yeah.
And so, if you put a plug in there, I suppose he'd probably go with that. But if it's got a nipple on it, that's
yeah.
He's not interested.
So now you're months into this job. You were saying this customer's shut down their restaurant.
Yep.
In the meantime,
yep.
So they thought this was going to go over quickly for some reason.
I think they thought it was going to go a lot quicker. The permit process, I don't know. They probably waited. I'll be honest with you. I think had they done their permit ahead of time, instead of after they were partway into this thing, I think it may have gone quicker.
Yeah. So poor management is what it comes down to.
I think maybe just a lack of understanding of how the commercial permit process works.
Oh yeah.
I think really, and I don't want to say that the city of Missoula does this, but when you get somebody that's already started a project and then they come in and ask for a permit, sometimes I think that drags the gears a little.
Well, it could be just because you're anticipating the quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's watching what is it? Watch pot never boils.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's part of it. It's been a grind when we have initially agreed to it. I was slow, so that was a little bit of a factor in us going, yeah, we'll get involved. Had he come to us today, I would say no. Not even knowing hindsight, but right now, just as busy as we are, I would have said, no, I'm not interested in a commercial kitchen project.
Yeah.
Because
is this more like looking back on it? So you're set up fine. Like you're doing time and material. You're going to, we're
getting paid.
Yeah. It's just a pain in the butt. Like you wish you were done with the project. And I feel like that's how we feel no matter, like, as long as you're getting paid. Like we always end up kind of feeling that way about these projects that go on longer than we want them to, right? Whether or not you're getting paid well or what, bid or time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like anytime anything is stretched on, it's like, oh my God, I just wanted this to be over with.
Well, one of the examples, like I said, it's a 125-year-old building or whatever, so he goes in and he's getting ready to replace the base cove in the kitchen, right? All the equipment's already pulled out of the kitchen. They're cleaning and he pulls the base cove out, the old rubber base. And he's like, dude, the wall's rotten behind it.
Yeah.
So he's like,
Because it's a kitchen and
it's
it's
the
not
kitchen.
built with
Yeah.
steel studs and
Right. So he starts digging, he pulls some FRP off the wall and on the wet wall of the dishwash pit. And he's like, the studs are all rotten. So he cuts studs off, 4 foot up and gets the Simpson plates to, plate new studs on down below and does pressure treated base plate and, all this stuff. Cause there
there's
was
a
one wall that I think had steel studs. They were rotted off, I mean, it's a wet kitchen,
yeah,
it's
and it
been
wasn't
20
done
years since it was remodeled.
and it wasn't done right the first
Right.
time. Yeah.
And so, every time, I think he ended up doing that on like 4 or 5 walls in the kitchen
So there's a few
area.
weeks.
Yeah. So there's a couple weeks and we're in cutting the water lines off and cutting the waste lines off, putting the studs in, drilling studs, re-roughing this, 4 or 5 foot section in the middle. And that doesn't just happen.
No.
Right. I mean, it's hours of time, what was the other one? They pulled the stainless off behind the hotline and the wall had a bunch of mold on it. And so it was like, God. So, they pulled the drywall off, cleaned up the mold, sprayed everything down, new drywall, new stainless, and we have to rebuild the gas header.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the one I sent you the text message of, and the bent header. And so we got like 9 outlets on a 2-inch gas manifold. Well, I mean, that's a day-long project to rebuild that and remount it and, pressure test and all of that. And that wasn't on my permit. So I got to go get a new permit, and add to that. And it's just been one of these things that it's like buying a fixer-upper,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
But
some
it's
of those,
more consequential. It's not like you just bought this little house and you're going to rent it out. Like there's so much work.
there's so much. And so that's where we're at. We're getting ready. I think we're going to try and do an evening after hours, not after hours, but it's going to be an overtime thing
Yeah.
to go in and wrap it up
After
because I don't have a time in my schedule now because we're busy. It's June,
and
whatever.
you're down a guy since you started this project.
Yep.
Which is a huge thing. Down a guy for you is
Yeah. 30%.
25%, 30%.
Yeah. Something 25%. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, I'm glad you price it that way. Let me ask you this. When it comes down to projects like this, and let's say you did bid it and it just goes on and on, like how many times have you gone to the table and been like, look, this isn't,
this isn't in the scope.
This isn't, yeah. This has changed. The timeline has changed significantly from what we originally expected, that kind of thing. Like you have to go back and say, we have to adjust our costs here, or otherwise we're at a stopping point.
Well, I mean, and it's projects like the one you were explaining, talking about, where you're rolling up your 11 and a half months.
Yeah.
Right. A project like that, like when you're bidding a job, it's rare do you think about it and go, well, I should put an expiration date on the job. Right. Like this pricing is valid for 10 days.
Yeah.
If the job is completed in the next 12 months, right? You don't want to put all these stipulations in there because then people are like, I'm not hiring this guy. Look at all the rules he's got.
Yeah. No, it does. It opens up for, the conversation they'll have on the other side with my competitors and saying, well, this guy just seems to, all it takes is for somebody else to go, well, I'm not going to, whatever, it'll take what it'll take,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. The reality, like for me, the reality is like new construction just isn't a really good fit, right? One guy show.
I agree.
If I had another person, it could be a different story, a different conversation.
Yep.
So I limit what I'm willing to take on all the time. I just had a great meeting with an awesome local builder in the Twin Cities here, and he does amazing work. Their company does.
Right.
All architectural stuff,
Just nice.
Really nice stuff, really nice. And he's like, I want you to do my work. And I'm like, I don't do your work. You don't want me. You don't. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not willing to take on people and change the scope of my business, like on what I do on a regular basis, what I'm good at, so that I can take on new construction. It's just not the cards.
Yeah.
And it, so like I have to think about that when I take on even just these small jobs. But, look, it's my fault. And when I complain about it, I know that. When I say like, why did I take this job? Or I'm not going to work, like, look, I like the person I'm working for. Great gal, super nice. Like, it's not that.
Yep.
I'm not trying to
Same.
pick on them. It's literally like I find myself in this scenario that I had a little bit of control over, and you do take on the work as it comes your way. Like if
Yep.
that job would present itself today, I bet you that I know you say you wouldn't take it, but like you and Cheryl would probably be like, "Oh gosh, I should at least put a price on it."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
know what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I
I mean,
believe you when
they're
you
an
say I
existing
wouldn't take. Yeah,
customer, and
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I believe you when you say I wouldn't take it now, but like
yeah,
you probably would in a roundabout way, like eventually find yourself
right.
considering it seriously.
Yeah. Well, and like I say, when we had the first conversation, it was, hey, yeah, we're doing this. That wasn't that big a deal, right? To change these couple of things. It's all the other stuff that I was in the back of my mind. I know that we're going to be pulling 3-compartment sinks. I know that we're going to be, revamping this. They're going to pull the kilt line out and they're going to find out there's 20 years worth of grease behind it, right? That gas line's going to be hammered.
Mm.
These are all the little things that are in a commercial kitchen that when you're starting fresh, you kind of want fresh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're going to, like say, we're going to try. And I know this is no fault of the owner either, of the business.
Well, I mean,
owner.
it could be different if it were managed, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, to some extent, and and some of it's been a discovery on his process too.
Does the guy own this building now, or is it
No,
leased?
he's releasing it. So, I mean, like say it's one of those projects that you just kind of got to look at and you got to go, well, do I offer a scope of work? Right? Is this something that I'm going to put a scope of work together and say, this is what we're including? Or are we just going to say, hey, we're going to come in and do this. There's a ballpark about this much, and it's going to be time and material.
Well, that's what I was going to just bring up is the ballpark thing you just said. Like they have to have a budget. And
Right.
so you can't just, I mean, outside of this conversation we're having right now, like in reality, you didn't just say, well, I'm just going to time and material it. And that was the end of the conversation.
Right.
So anybody new to this and hasn't dealt with this, like what Andy's saying is he had to be like, look, I think the job is going to be relatively close to this number based off of what you're telling me, the timeline, what I might now your costs are technically changing because you're having to go in and maybe you're not charging them more. Maybe you're just accommodating your own challenges within your schedule to go in after hours. But in reality, on a bid job, you would have had to account for the fact that you're going to have to pay your guys either time and a half or double time, depending on how they have to be paid and the time of day and that kind of thing, how your contract says that. But the, you would have put that on a bid job.
Sure.
But you probably didn't say, I'm going to do this time and material. Here's your budget, sort of, as long as the scope doesn't change too much. Yeah. And this is what you probably expect in the end to have paid for us to do this work. But you wouldn't have said, yeah, and I'm for sure going to come in here after hours and have to pay my guys more to do some of the work. Like, you know what I mean?
Just because we got to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think, I bet if I look back at my budget or not my budget, but my estimate, my ballpark, based on the initial scope of work, I bet we're in the 5X range right now.
Oh.
Literally.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So you weren't even close.
Not even close.
Because that on you, is that because you made a mistake, or is that because it changed so much?
Because we're doing so much more.
Okay.
Right. And this is part of where I'm kind of one of my quasi fears of this project right now is the inspector hasn't been down there. I mean, they came down and looked at rough plumbing and stuff on that. But when they come in and do health inspection, that stuff, I mean, I kind of go, well, what else are they going to find? Because it hasn't had a health department walkthrough, I don't think, in quite a few years.
Probably since it's since rules have been updated. Things like that.
Yeah, right. And so there may be some of that they come in and they go, well, you know what? There's not a hand wash sink adjacent to this cook area, and there's I don't know, there's 3 or 4 hand sinks in there, but nonetheless, that's one of the places where the health department
isn't that shouldn't that be taken care of on the permitting process though? Like.
Well, but all we're permitted through was doing this bar sink change out.
Oh,
right. Because the rest of it was just, hey, we're just cleaning.
Yeah.
But now, and they're not trapped fixtures, so technically they're kind of omitted from the, having to be permitted when they're getting ring hung.
Well, you're UPC.
Yep.
So are we. But in Minnesota, when it comes to a 3-compartment, we have to trap it and connect to the sanitary. We cannot.
Really?
And yep.
Oh, no,
will
ours
not
have to
accept
be
the indirect waste.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. So we have to be, it has to drain through a grease interceptor.
Yep. Yep.
And they have to be individually drained to a receptacle. They can't, like the 3 compartments cannot tie together. So we have usually
because of backup from like the sanitizer to the
from the wash to sanitize.
Yeah.
So all 3 go independently, and all 3 are air gapped at the floor.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that, even though the code says it. I don't have any more on that. I just know that that's true.
Yeah.
So when you see any, like, it's happened just a few times because I do so little commercial work, but service work. And so when you see that stuff pop up once every couple years on my Instagram or something, people will comment like, oh, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, but we can't do it the way everyone else does it.
That's interesting that your local jurisdiction would try and reinvent that component of it.
I'm not sure why it is. I don't have an explanation. I haven't talked to anybody in so long that works on those committees and things like that. I don't know.
We had one generation, and I don't think it's still in play. But if you had, let's say you had a small, like a small scale kitchen, right, coffee cart or something like that, where they were serving food, that 3-compartment sink, they're like those 8 or 10 inch wide bowls, little tiny things for washing utensils and whatnot.
Yeah, they're basically the size of about a laptop.
Yeah. And that thing had to have a grease interceptor. Minimum 20, whatever it is, 20-pound grease interceptor.
Yeah, like
right, because that's the code says
GPM or 6 GPM or something like that.
Yeah, right. So we'd buy these canned plas out of Canada. That's the nice. Anybody that's looking for grease interceptors, hands down, that is the nicest grease interceptor on the market.
Nice lids on them and everything.
Yep. Serviceable. Anyway.
Yep.
Okay. So the code said you could do 2 options at the time. One was indirect each basin separately.
Yeah.
Into like an indirect receptacle. Or you could tie the 3 of them together, go through the grease interceptor, and then indirect that. And I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. And that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I think that's changed.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't get it. So time and material versus bidding. I know it's not this isn't a how-to guide.
No.
But you do encounter these scenarios where you have to stop and think like, look, is this gonna go the way we plan? And if so, then you're looking at bidding things because you're always incentivized to get the job done.
Yep.
Expedient and efficient and, things like that. Now, of course, you're doing that time and material. You're not trying to waste anybody's time, but you got to look at it like, how is this going to benefit my customer and how am I going to come out in the end?
Well, and that was the thing, when we did it initially, when I said, hey, I'm just going to do this as a time and material thing, it wasn't like, hey, we're going to go jack the labor rate up and we're going to jack the pricing up and all that. I mean, it's the same labor, actually, to be honest, it's probably cheaper than if I was going to bid it.
Yeah, your bid rate should be higher. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, so there's certain factors of that you kind of look at on projects like that when you go and go, wow, the scope of work's pretty fuzzy. There isn't like a clearly defined list that I can say, this is what we're including. I mean, I could have on that, but then it's a really awkward conversation when you come back and go, oh, well, by the way, this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other, and, 5 times later.
This might be a great opportunity for us to reach out to anybody listening that has some feedback on this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that have great advice for us. We've received so much good advice over the years. If you're dealing this kind of stuff on a regular basis, like, how do you handle it? Like, how do you, oh my gosh, this is going to turn into one of those jobs. You've only done 100 of them in the past,
Right.
Like, how are you handling it? Give us some feedback on that. We want to hear from you. Give us an email. You can email us at maketradesgreatagain@gmail.com, or you can use that link in your, in the app below in the podcast description. There's a link there. You can text us.
Yep.
We can't respond to your texts. We don't even know who it is that sends. But there's a lot of ways you can get in touch with us. You can DM us over DM. You can direct message us over on Instagram, and the links are there too. So yeah, let's wrap it up. We got 25 minutes on this baby. I think it was a good topic. I appreciate your insight on it. I'm glad I'm not in your shoes. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
I wish that this boiler job would. I mean, I'm getting close.
Yeah. They got it all framed in now. I know they poured a slab here a while back.
Yep. So now they're lying in wait to be told, this is the kind of stuff you're up against when you do these types of jobs. So the boiler is going to go basically in the garage. It's a post frame building, and it's a large garage and living space.
Sure. And
the boiler's basically going to be in the garage that they have to build a room around for
code
purposes. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, it's sealed combustion, but anyway. So I'm going to hang the boiler on that wall, that common wall.
Sure.
To the house. Okay. They're like, oh, the wall's up. You can put it in now. And I'm like, I can't until you've met the fire code framing.
Right.
Like, and she's like, well, yeah. She's like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, no clue. I said, I would not even give you an opinion on what I think needs to be done because it's not going to be right. I'm a plumber. I don't care what needs to be done.
But I know that I can't hang it on studs.
I'm like, I can't put it in. Yeah. I won't put it in. And no, this is a good conversation we had. It sounds a little harsh right now. It wasn't that at all.
Right.
No, we're close. They just got to finish. They got to figure out what they got to put on the wall. Then I'm going in. Boom. I'm going to be done in 2 days, and I'll be like, here's your invoice. All right, we're going to call it. Yep. Guys, thanks for listening. Give us your feedback if you have any. We really love to hear what you have to say. And shout out to Trevor over on Instagram. I think it's Holtz.
Yeah.
Oh man, I shouldn't have even brought it up without double checking. I said, I'm so sorry. If I can listen, he's sharing us on his stories and stuff like that. He's really finding it interesting listening to us. And I do really, really appreciate all the support and the feedback and everything. Like, we really do mean that when we say it. So, all right, I'm going to shut up now. Everybody's been waiting for that to happen in the last 5 minutes. All right. See ya.
Sounds good. Later.